What's up, assholes? Welcome back to the Call to Action podcast. I'm James.
I'm Mac. Hello.
And I'm Danny. What's up?
And I'm Dylan.
Yes, and we have a fun week of matches, mostly because we had one of the most interesting matches of Inner Geekdom of all time, I would say. Before we jump into that, because it's a lot to cover, at the free-for-all this weekend, wait for Friday, I had an interview with Winston Marshall. And before we start covering the match, let's plug that right here.
Wham bam up at that corner. Bam. Achoo.
And we're back. Just wanted to again say thank you, Winston, for taking time out of your day, especially at such a big event, to sit down and talk with me, covering the podcast and everything. But as we talked about in the interview, the match wasn't that great. I think overall they each scored. What is it? I believe Emily scored 8 points. And
TKO.
Yeah, a TKO 8-7. Whew. Even Dan Murrell and Andrew Guy weren't that low scoring, which is a big note to say. How did you guys feel about Winston Blackman Marshall versus Emily the Rose Jacobson?
Is it the best nickname of the entire league? Maybe. Possibly.
It is. 100% it is.
I'd say no one can dispute that. I mean, come on. But it is not the absolute worst debut of the entire league. I mean, I would probably give that to Miss Markia McCarty from last year when she debuted against, you remember that? She had a whopping 3 points. Oh, yeah. Whopping 3 points throughout the entire match against Miss Rachel Cushing. So, Jacob, she's not a bad player, but she's not a great player, but it was her first time playing. But Winston, what the fuck?
Especially to disrespect my boy Goku over there.
Goku, you're right.
What the disrespect is that he came out with it super hype, and then we had that match, which nothing. All right, I think we're taking away a very valuable lesson from this match, guys. Is that this match is inspirational. This match means that there are so many fans in the fan leagues who have been fighting for the Inner Geekdom champ, trying to get into potentially into Schmodown. This match inspired me that I could be an Inner Geekdom player. I can score 3 to 5 to maybe even 10 points in Inner Geekdom.
Dylan.
Give me the chance.
I can get in. You can win a match with only 10 points.
I could literally win one match in Inner Geekdom based on this match.
Technically, you can beat Merle with only 10 points.
That's true.
With the right match.
Oh, shame.
Oh.
I'm sorry, did I just drop that little nugget of knowledge a little too deep? Maybe. Sorry.
We're bipartisan.
But yeah, you're totally right. I mean, definitely really, it reminded everyone that Winston, he's really great as a team. I think he needs to, going into these matches, whether it be singles, whether it be IG, he needs to know that he can't just rely on his partner. And that was arguable when he was part of World's Finest, because they were a pretty solid team. They had a really solid
match against Corruption.
Yeah, not only that, but they just had a really good, record prior to that. Prior to then, it was 4-2 or something like that. I mean, that's pretty solid considering. Unfortunately, now they're gone. It's irrelevant. However, he needs to know that he can not just rely on his partner to kind of get those points, but he needs to keep himself motivated to not only train himself, but to also kind of be consistent and have that mentality throughout the entire match. He can't lean on his hype man or his partner to kind of keep himself motivated. But, I mean, you saw him. He was drinking consistently throughout the match, and that's fine if that energizes you and you do well, at the hair of the dog. But at the same time, sometimes you're not always completely there. You're not 100% focused. So you have to be realistic, coming into these matches, by yourself.
So do we think that Winston is just going to be one of those players that just shines in the team leagues, but on his singles debuts in either Geekdom or singles, that he's just not going to be that strong, like McQueenie or something?
I certainly hope not, because again, having interviewed him, he's a great personality, and he brings a lot to not only the league, but also he's quietly one of the best creators of entrances we have currently. I think he just needs to like sit down and study more. Going into Inner Geekdom, never seeing a Star Trek movie is a big fucking just wrong idea.
And same for Jacobson. She was very open that she did not do that either.
Yeah,
well, she's seen 2 of them. So, and I'm not like defending her at all. I think they both need to study. Historically speaking, Inner Geekdom is the strength of pretty much every single champion, which is why they're the champion, because other competitors just refuse to watch them. If they want to future this league, they need to watch and study Star Trek.
You know who it reminded me of? Jacobson. She reminded me of, what's her name? Keaton.
Yeah.
Yeah, the redhead chick that played last year. She like won her first match during Anarchy. Not Anarchy, but she won her first match.
Yeah.
And up against I don't even know who, but she ended up losing against
was it Rosie?
Should be Emma.
No, her first match.
Jesus. Well, yeah, I guess it was against Rosie. Yeah, Keaton Marchi. Yeah, Keaton Magic Marchi. Yeah, she 1 and 2 with her win being 1 KO. But absolutely, I mean, it's like as far as like how many points she garnered and as far as personality, they're both very similar. You know, one dressed up as Captain Marvel, the other one dressed as Minnie Mouse. So, you know, their mentalities going into these matches might be a little bit similar.
But that's also one of the reasons why we don't really hear people bring up Keaton Marchi that much, is that she got that win because it was a subpar competitor. That's really it.
Yeah.
Emily, she like looking at the rankings which are on Showdown.com or SDTrivia.com. She is like number 6 or 7 highest ranked competitor, and that's only because she is 1-0.
And technically, she's like she is above Haben,
yeah. And I mean, she's right below Kevin Smets, and this is only because of a brand new,
weird.
like a new presence to the league. Before we really decide whether she's good or not, we need to put her in another match. And I keep bringing it up because it's still like a crazy idea to me. Mara Konopik, her first match was around 50%. And look at her now; she was the champion at one point.
Right.
All her fault. I mean, maybe it's just a bad day for her. And she admitted in the post interview that like she didn't feel that strong. And the second she got that first question in round 1, like when she actually got a correct answer, she started leaning into it. She got 6 out of 8 points in round 2, and she stole one of Winston's many misses.
Well, she was being trained. I mean, she was, in order to prep for this match, she was actually being trained by her boyfriend, Adam Lovick. And I think that's, you know, definitely so much more than most players debuting as far as someone to help you prep and everything. But she said that she only had like a week or 2 to prepare for all these different categories. So, I mean, as someone that only has had a week or 2 to prepare, I mean, it is like, you know, it's pretty awesome. I mean, I know I would be the worst with IG. Singles or teams, that's a different category altogether. But there's a lot of these categories are like such as Star Trek, Star Wars are so difficult. They go into such depth that it's very difficult to study unless it's something you're actively passionate about. But, you know, maybe now, since it was her first time, you know, it was her first time under the lights, hopefully she's going to come back and be much more comfortable, not only with her personality in front of the camera during interviews, you know, because you can tell she was pretty nervous, but during the actual competition itself, you know, you can tell that she was kind of really hesitant with her answers and hesitant to, you know, kind of like talk back, you know, with, you know, Christian and, you know, everyone. So we'll see.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'd second that. You know, we've seen either fantastic entries on the first matches coming into Inner Geekdom, or we've seen just these kind of entries. And that first match is just too hard to judge on. I mean, you could have a great match or you could have a terrible match. Everybody has bad matches, and that could be easily your first. So I think waiting out to see, it's extremely possible.
Absolutely. We'll see. You know, it was her first time, and she has a really great, you know, partner literally her partner training her, working with her through this process. So you never know. She could be just like how Mara Knopic was with Dan. You know, she was there. She's been there for a bunch of matches before, and you know, she was trained. And Mara Knopic said she was training with, you know, Dan Murrell pretty consistently to help him train, and by writing all these questions and everything. And so maybe they're going to be much more active together as a Schmoedown couple. So fingers crossed.
I think that's really it. That's all I really want to talk about. I don't think there's like a credit scene or anything.
Yeah.
Just here and done, no big deal.
Yeah, just kind of carries into
the only credit scene was the selfies with the Shire Wolves. That was it.
That's right. That's right.
Speaking of Shire Wolves, let's have some fun, shall we?
And we have interesting matchup between two heavyweight teams.
Yes,
I would say.
And we also have a woman on the panel, so don't worry, we're not totally sexist.
Internet, you can't burn us down.
Nope.
We just have
one.
one.
Canceled this week.
I'm coming at you, boys. Coming in hot.
Wolves versus Critically Acclaimed. Before we start the actual match itself, I know there was some controversy even within myself about the entrance the Shire Wolves had. From our resident woman, Alex, would you like to start the discussion?
You know what? I honestly don't want to start this discussion because I've been told that I've been informed by numerous people, not just you guys, but some other people in my some fantasy leagues, that there is controversy and watching that for the first time. I loved it and everything, but I don't understand the controversy behind it. And even you know, as someone that is involved in a lot of the Schmoedown communities and everything on Facebook and Twitter and everything, I don't understand the controversy. So someone please explain to me why people aren't happy.
I can say personally, because I was one of the first people to really jump on that, it seems sort of in poor taste to quote unquote kill the trolls, because this is coming from someone who was very openly not a fan of the Shire Wolves initially. And I was punished almost, how do you say it? Not without reason, but more so like I was seen as one of the bad people because I said I wasn't a fan of them, or I said they were sort of handed easy wins. So suddenly having that idea turned around on me that I am part of the problem, that I need to be murdered as a joke seems really bad. And for those who saw it, I did actually talk with Bibiani about it, that constantly bringing this up is sort of the thing that's holding back discussion about the Shire Wolves, that it's due to us, not just me specifically, but all fans in general, to keep bringing up these sexism claims, that it's part of the issue. And I understand that. And I understand that we need to move on. However, putting this within the league, within the actual Schmoedown, even as a joke, I feel like it shines a negative light on how the Shire Wolves are seen and portrayed. And there's more reasons. There are more reasons to that. I could cite Emma Fife and Rachel Cushing's Twitter activity, or their contributions to their Facebook pages, or even the fan pages, and all that shit. I think we need to move on. I think that's like an undeniable idea. However, the entrance itself within this match really just got under my skin in a very weird way. Almost like as if it shouldn't have been there.
So I think we're going to have a varying spectrum on this one, because I walked away from watching this entrance and I thought it was just in good humor, but I do agree on some of your points here, James, is that just the phrase, you don't feed the trolls, so to speak. And it just feels like for somebody who's so fixated with the Shire Wolves to sit here and to be moving on past the gender thing, because, I mean, to me, they have nothing to prove. They're champions as good as you're going to get right now. They're the best in the league. They've been showing that. They don't need to sit here and prove it to anybody. But to your point, though, it does kind of come to say that for them to take a whole entrance and just do this, and it just does kind of just say, hey, look, we're still fighting with and dealing with this. And I'm sure that they probably are. But just constantly bringing attention to it, it does feel like that instead of just focusing on the Shire Wolves, we're focused on the drama around the Shire Wolves. And instead. So I do see that mixed feeling with it, but I don't know. For me, I watched it and I thought that it was just a pretty okay entrance. I was entertained with it. I didn't think too much into the depth of it, but I can see where people who maybe get more locked into the idea, and especially if you felt like because you weren't a Shire Wolves fan and you got put into this troll category specifically, that does seem almost even personal. But I've always said that the biggest thing of trolls, and I think even Christian Harloff's been doing this on the Facebook pages and stuff like that, he just spams "win a goldfish here" GIF anymore. He's just like, fuck it, I'm not dealing with them anymore. And I think that's probably a better approach to handling the drama that seems to just be trying to coming after the Shire Wolves with the sexism aspect. But that's just me on that one. But all right, Alex, thoughts, opinions? Now do you have a better idea?
Yeah. I mean, as someone that's dealt with trolls before, online and, a lot of assholes in person, like through these things in the Schmoedown community, I understand your point of view completely. And a lot of points I do agree with you in terms of, I definitely want to take the high road, such as Christian has done, especially. But however, some trolls, they're very aggressive about, and not saying you guys are, obviously, not every person that's against the Shire Wolves are trolls, and not every male fan, is a troll if, for like, posting a negative comment about, how an entrance is, or how, the scores, or how they should have known this, whatever it may be against those Shire Wolves. Now, but the thing is, I honestly think, sure, you can argue it is in bad taste, but it didn't occur to me in the slightest watching it. Because honestly, if they had taken the high road, it would have continued. I mean, people still argue that they had not just the easy way out, which I can understand that argument, but they were almost like put into that place purposefully, where, because like some people say it's almost a conspiracy that Christian and Mark is so desperate for female fans and for female players, they made them into champions, and that they don't deserve to be there at all. And so it's kind of like, obviously, it's kind of a real big fuck you to anyone that does say that. Now, is it appropriate to hypothetically joke about, trolls being shot? Absolutely not. Sure. But at the same time, I honestly think it's like one of the only ways for these players to actually get their point across, because they have been taking the high road now for trying to, at least attempting to take the high road now for some time, and they're still not getting as much support. So doing this, I feel like it's probably one of the only ways that they could kind of explain how they're feeling, pretty much, because they're not being paid attention to as much via social media through with what they're saying.
I'm hesitant to agree with you, but I tend to look, because I think what they're doing it right now is looking at it in a vacuum, with the way Shire Wolves are seen on the Schmoedown Facebook page and within the Schmoedown itself.
Mm-hmm.
My point of view, I wouldn't call myself famous for it, but it's the only time I've ever been like truly noticed on the Facebook page, is last summer I made a post about something Emma Fife said on Twitter, and it suddenly, like without me blinking, had like 300, 400, 500 comments of people just dissing the Shire Wolves and the Fife Club, how they were paper champions, how their wins, they didn't deserve them. Mm-hmm. And at that point in time, I agreed. And again, since then, I've moved on and I've learned, and that's a good thing. But there's still this idea of they have a certain mentality about who they are in the league. That even just
they've been trying to ignore that process for a while, and they keep coming at them. They've had so much support from other players, from Christian and Mark and, Jen and everyone, but still they're being ignored, and so there's only so much someone can do. I mean, like, they're literally being called out. They've been threatened by Schmoedown fans.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, there have been numerous fans have been blocked. They've been that are saying that are similarly Thelma and Louise. They've been threatened with a horrible, like with harassment, with ridiculous acts of violence over Schmoedown matches. It's just stupid. So, I mean, and I don't want to give these trolls attention, but, they've been doing it for so long that this is like one of the only ways to kind of, I don't want to say shut them up. It's almost, I feel like it's almost going to edge them on, unfortunately.
That's one of the points I mentioned with Bibbs, is that he said, like these women, they get harassed and they have like death threats and all of that bullshit set on them.
Yeah.
And that's one of the points of like, hey, they need to vent, and I understand that. The issue from a fan's point of view is we don't see that. Because they do block them or they only receive the messages and nothing else, we have no idea what we're going through. So if this is like a cathartic experience for them to literally murder and blow up their trolls, it's really understandable. It's just hard from the point of view of a fan to really understand their viewpoint.
No one is actually murdered in that little opening.
Spoiler. Whoa.
Spoiler, no one's actually murdered. They're actually threatened and things blow up behind them because they were antagonized. They were actively antagonizing them after they numerously told them, hey, stop. And they kept going on. And they're like, stop it, seriously. And they kept going on. And they're like, okay, finally, now we're going to shoot. Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, if that kind of interaction happened in real life, at that point, you have the right to defend yourself. Just like in Thelma and Louise.
That's the issue is I haven't seen the film, so I can't speak from the perspective.
Yeah, that's what happens. Like they're in the process of being in the movie. That's exactly what happens. They try this guy is trying to antagonize them, and they keep trying to dismiss him, and they're like, no, we just don't want to do this, and he keeps egging him on. So there's only so many times you can say no before you do something serious for them to take you seriously. Yeah. And even then, I mean, sometimes they still don't take you seriously until you do something to really terrify them.
Yeah, I think it just moving away from this point, because I understand that talking about it is part of the issue. Mm-hmm. I wasn't a fan of the Edric itself, but partially because they both don't have very good accent work.
Yeah, the southern accent was not on point, guys.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, let's be honest. They're not at Hollywood to be actors, really.
I think they both moved to Hollywood to be actors.
I think.
And again, like this is no judgment. I do accents pretty much every day just for comedy's sake, and I realize I sound like shit. Yeah. So me telling, oh, it's bad, I just don't like the accents. This isn't an indictment of the people. It's just a please no kind of thing. If in the future another competitor wants to do it, I'll treat them the same way of please don't do this. The only time it ever has worked is Devon doing the fake British accent because we're aware of the fake British accent and it's part of the joke. If we can stay away from British from foreign accents, that's great. If we get more pre-recorded scenes, that's amazing. But just don't do accents. It sounds bad.
Honestly, at that point, I feel like it's meant to be bad. It's very purposefully cheesy and ridiculous and campy. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate that. But, regardless, it's, that, the Shirewolves won. I mean, they have a perfect record against critically acclaimed, arguably one of the best teams in the league. So that's pretty crazy.
That's one point I wanted to make was I think I'm the only one here who actually watches it in the stats bit at the end of the match. Frank basically said in his flowery language, this is the second worst the Shirewolves have ever played.
And that says something. You gotta look.
That is fucking fantastic. Uh-huh. Like I'm part of the camp that thinks that Shirewolves and Patriots should face off eventually in an exhibition match, of course. But if one of your worst performances, you can beat one of the best teams in the league. What does that say about how fantastic of a team you are? Right. Again, being part of the camp who believe that Shirewolves didn't deserve the praise they were getting.
Yeah.
That's all gone. Like, literally out the fucking window. They beat Who's the Boss, and they beat Critically Acclaimed. They beat Critically Acclaimed in their terms, a shitty performance. That's astounding.
It's
no one should ever doubt them, ever.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, doubters, go away. I mean, they really improved themselves. They set a whole new record. I mean, the prior, I believe it was with 34 points with top 10 from a season or two ago. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, it's fantastic. And I'm hoping that, and I don't know about defending themselves like 4 or 5 more times, similar to how the Patriots did, because they are, to me, the Patriots are still like the real GOAT in terms of teams. because, they had so many defenses. They won so many times as a team. To me, it was like ridiculous. It was bonkers for a while. But, who knows? I mean, give it a few more shots and they're definitely, it's going to be in talks in terms of, are they now the real GOAT, team? We'll see. I'm pretty excited for them though, overall.
I think there's something to say about the state of the league now compared to what it was before. Like the Patriots, and nothing against the teams that they cleared through. I mean, the Patriots earned every bit of respect that they got with the run that they had. But the teams now that the Shirewolves are placing past the couple like arguable soft ones, whatever. We're not going to go into that. But since being champions, Who's the Boss is a pretty damn good tier, like high level team. Critically Acclaimed is a pretty damn high level team. These are ones that are not softballs in any means that I think would be giving Patriots a run for their challenge. And I think the league has only leveled up since the Patriots have stepped down. So it says something to be undefeated, perfect record, and having such good matches at this level against this level of competition. On
top of that, the Shirewolves, it wasn't even like a tooth and nail thing. They won on a 3-point question.
Right.
Like, they didn't even need to go to the 5-pointer. They didn't need sudden death. Winning on a 3 over a team that is only won via TKO.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I'm running out of adjectives to describe them, but I wouldn't call Shirewolves the GOAT because I think there's a lot to be said about a truly intimidating championship team where the Patriots are beyond just being skilled, get in your head and fuck with you.
Yeah.
But Shirewolves could very easily make that claim. I think when they face off against Who's the Boss again, because I'm pretty sure they're winning in Chicago, and after that, probably going to be Founding Fathers, which I'm sure they're going to win as well.
Well, I would think, ideally, for sure. I mean, I don't feel like Founding Fathers, not to go off topic here, but I mean, I don't feel like Who's the Boss. I feel like they're a real threat, in terms of like how they're going to do in the future, for sure. But the Founding Fathers, I honestly don't see them doing much, to be honest. I don't see them much as a threat. Maybe it's because we haven't seen them outside of, the Anarchy tournament from last year. But we haven't really, we've only seen them be together a few times and they lost. So, I mean, I don't feel like I can take them seriously as a team until we see them again outside of the tournament.
I agree. I think that with looking at the Founding Fathers, that we're looking at the sum of the parts instead of the whole right now. And we're sure Dan Murrell, great, Roca, whatever. There as a team have a lot to show still. You can't just look at the belts and the histories in their individual and just count that up. And sure, Roca was part of a team championship for a little bit, but it's been a long time since he's even come close to having that belt. Even in his matchups against top 10 or against the Patriots, they had 3 matches and they lost 3 times in a row.
For sure. We'll see. Who knows?
That's really it. I just wanted to throw in one little last flame of the discussion before we moved on to a new topic. Mm-hmm. Backtracking to Patriots versus Shirewolves, just seeing at who Patriots faced and almost lost to. We have Trek, we have MODOK, we have different times of top 10, and then we have some teams who honestly they just were in and moved on, no one cared about.
I'm really hoping that, because they've really kind of shown how necessary not only training individually is, they really showed, how Clark, she posts updates on her Instagram, and so does Rachel, how they like to train individually, but how necessary it is to train as a team. And I mean, you saw in that buzzer challenge, you saw how they, when they, just throughout the match overall, how necessary, kind of working as a team to improve your strategy and making use of your JTEs, of your challenge. Oh, I feel like a lot of players, including Bibbs, he forgot about that challenge, and regardless of whether he would have gotten that point or not in that moment, you got to be a much smarter player, in order to succeed in this match. And the Shirewolves definitely proved not only are they really good, they have the knowledge, but they're very smart players. They know how to work it, versus some other teams, they're more knowledge rather than smart strategy focused players, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I would agree. I think looking into this match beforehand, it seemed like these were two teams that were very much in there. They were just knowledge based. It wasn't always the most technical. It wasn't all character. This was two top tier knowledge teams.
Yes.
And even coming in though, I think Sharewolves have shown their championship level qualities by exactly your points as being the more technical players. And I think even in the previous matches, you've seen Clark be more likely to challenge things as they came up, or just seeing the collaboration between them, because it's a different beast in teams. I think people really just think you put two top-tier competitors together, founding fathers, and you just make a championship team, and we've seen that that's not the case.
Yes.
It also is the case with, actually, sort of, and then we also have Above the Line, which McWeeny arguably is a top-tier player. He just lacks that drive in singles. Mm-hmm. Hopefully with Andrew Guy, it's going to be different. But we always talk about how these super teams come about, like the Shirewolves. I think it's really like a case-by-case basis, where you have, again, just in recent memory, you have the idea of you have founding fathers, where you have two people who have and currently have, or have had and currently have singles titles, even teams titles, and they can't do shit. And then you have people like Who's the Boss, where you have two top tier players who have always been in or near championship conversations, and they can get really far. So it's hard to say like, oh, this isn't like a thing we should always expect is going to be bad or even just good. It's always down to how the players balance each other out. And I think what we sort of ignore is how many of these strong competitors maybe have an overlap in similar faults.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I'm pretty excited to see because I feel like versus like in the last few years, obviously, not only teams but individual players, obviously they're much more their approach to these matches are just definitely much more efficient. I mean, they're smarter as far as like understanding the interview process and understanding the interaction between the announcers and the players and with each other and everything. And so, I mean, they just have they actually have much more of an understanding of what the Schmodown is and what it's all about, so therefore they have much better players, much better teams. And, that's why some of the older antiques, so to speak, aren't thriving as they used to be. For example, I mean, that's why Janine the Machine and that's why she's technically above JTE. For example, I like some of the newer players like Paul Yama, Chance Ellison, although they've only played in just a few matches, either individually or, as a team, they're already a lot better, versus like some of the older, players, like such as Emma Fife. She's seen a bazillion one of them, but she's very vocal about it. This is not something she's actively pursuing, so, we're definitely having in the incoming seasons and, with upcoming tournaments and everything, the approach to these tournaments are a lot better, for sure. A lot smarter, specifically.
I'm honestly I'm done with the discussion for the match if you guys want to move on.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Great.
Danny's still here.
Danny, can you contribute anything at all?
Oh, hi. You guys are having a good conversation, so I didn't want to butt in. Really, so.
Well, here. I'm gonna step out for a couple minutes, so you guys can feel free to talk about this some more. Maybe move on to Roken and Draco. I'll be right back.
Mm-hmm. Danny, thoughts on the Shirewolves match?
I just thought it was pretty amazing that the final score was 35-33. So in a losing match, I think that was just too. Like I said, it was two heavyweights. I liked both entrances. I see the point where with the controversy stuff, but when it was explained later by Bibbs, I understood where they were coming from. But I liked seeing Critically Acclaimed 1-2. That's funny. So
It's crazy. I'm so stuck on the Shower Wolves one and all the stuff that came from it. I don't remember what was the critically acclaimed one again.
That was the one with what's his name? The whatever his name is, the movie critic guy. Whatever his name
Maltese, whatever, the Maltese Falcon. The critic came in and he critiqued them coming in. That's right.
And they said it was like the worst one.
Yeah. That one was pretty good.
It's funny, like both of them were kind of spoofs. So that was good.
This was a spoof-heavy entrance. I agree though. I enjoyed it. Controversy aside, whatever. Like, people just quit being terrible to each other. Just enjoy the Schmodown. Quit being dicks and doing death threats. Is that too much to ask? Community,
and
if you're hearing
it's
this.
just trivia. It's just trivia. It's not the end of the world.
Right. Well, okay, sometimes it's the end of the world. # team table. But
well, according to John Roca, it is. Little Roca cries and has to ask Christian to make a movie over him to get attention.
Ooh. # John Roca doesn't watch this show. So
# Roca sleeps on the job.
Yeah. Do we want to start transitioning into the Roca and Draco match? Speaking of,
absolutely. Andraco, I was super psyched for Andraco going into this match. Especially after some of his previous matches, just being part of a team, and also I didn't realize until watching that, I was like, oh my gosh, he's been in like over 10 matches, which kind of blew my mind. So, knowing that he's never been up these two antiques, so to speak, these two, veterans of the games have never gone up against each other. And it does suck, I feel like, to be labeled as, the best player to never win a belt. I feel like that's kind of an asshole thing to say.
It's not always a bridesmaid, never a bride of the show.
Yeah, it's kind of an asshole thing to say. However, I understand it. It's just, I feel like it's just an asshole. I don't know. I mean, like, I would never say that to a person. I would never say that to Andraco in person.
Yeah, and they were especially mean to him. That's why they cut the post-interview match, if you notice.
Who was especially mean to him?
Yeah. I was really sad for Mark.
Wait, who was really mean to him?
No, it's just like you could tell, like he was frustrated and he left.
Oh,
That's why they cut the match.
Oh, okay.
Cut the interview and everything.
The interview went straight to Roxy.
Yeah.
With
Roca, I think he got on his nerves with that challenge.
Yeah, it is. Well, he is such a great player. We can't really call him the android all that much because he is so knowledgeable, but I mean, he's human. He's not robotic, So I feel like I kind of want him to kind of rebrand himself a little bit. Mark the Passionate, Andraco or something. I don't know.
So talking into the match a little bit, I think it's interesting to see that it's by and far it's a very close match altogether score-wise. I mean, Andraco and Roca stay toe-to-toe for pretty much most of the match. I don't have the round scores in front of me, but round 1 I remember being very close, round 2 kind of keeping up, and then it did come down to round 3. Give or take the challenge, which we will get into, but I think we need to talk a little bit about the match and just kind of see how it
went. I mean, round 1 Roca was on fire again. He got a perfect score.
Right.
And I think Mark will end up getting the 6. Hey, you know how much I love Roca here.
Calm your excitement, Danny. It's too intense.
I'm busting out of my scene.
I don't know if it's going to show on the later video, but Danny said being a Roca fan and then instantly muted.
Exactly, I muted myself.
I assume just because he knows he's in the wrong podcast for that opinion, but
no, he's on the wrong. He's not on the wrong podcast for that. He's just wrong. Period.
That's fair.
I'm always wrong.
Danny, get yourself together.
Danny
Come
O's wrong cost. That will be my.
I have the actual score for the match if you guys want to listen to it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Weird enough, James.
Lots of facts. Mark got a total of 5 points in that, with Roka stealing 1 point. Oh, no, I didn't. Never mind. That was a bonus point. So, yeah. And Draco got 5 out of 6 on Julia Roberts.
Mhm.
Good for him. I got 1 point right, so he's solid.
0 points.
Yeah. I got the Ocean's 8 one because I've seen that for very obvious reasons.
This match, unlike the Intergeekdom match, did not inspire me to think I could compete in the singles league. I will say that.
And then Roka as well got a 5, I believe. Yeah, 5 out of 6, or 5 out of 8.
I mean, that's fine. That's okay.
Yeah. So, okay. I'm doing my math hella wrong because I thought they were farther closer, whatever. I'm stupid high. So they both got pretty comparative round 2 scores, doing very well, mind you.
Yes. I can't remember. Can someone tell me specifically which categories each of them had? I mean, obviously, if
Draco had Julia Roberts and Roka had Ridley Scott.
Ridley Scott, that was the one.
I feel like Roka, he would do good. I mean, he's pretty solid on Ridley Scott. I mean, he made it seem like, oh my gosh, Ridley Scott, I would never do well with this. He pulls that, a lot. But like when on his other podcasts, like the Cinephiles, for example, he mentions how Ridley Scott is one of his favorite directors. He watches them very consistently, whether he's involved as a producer or as a director, it's regardless. But I feel like he kind of fakes it a lot. So he did get something he's very great at, versus Julia Roberts. That could mean a lot. She's been in so many movies of so many different genres that, both indie movies and very major Hollywood movies. So that can mean a lot of different things. So I feel like those questions were deeper cuts. So I feel like he and Draco definitely had a harder slice to win over than Roka did.
I would agree. I think looking at the two, there's a couple of categories on the wheel that are very actor focused, but those actors have just been in a lot of things, like the Samuel L. Jackson one. He's been in over, I don't know, probably 200 or something movies. I don't have the stats in front of me. But it's absurd.
150 acting credits.
See. So just the fact that it's that much range, it could be up to 150 different movies compared to, even Julia Roberts isn't going to rival that, but it's the same idea.
She has 62 movies under her belt.
Okay.
Yes.
That's a lot of movies to be expected to watch all of and know even a little bit of trivia from that. Ridley Scott, I'm sure he's got his hands in other movies besides the ones he's directed, but it's a much smaller pool. And
that's actually a good question. I'm not entirely sure of it. If these people produce movies, are they still considering those categories? Like in Martin Scorsese, do you suddenly get a question about The Snowman? Or whatever the fuck that Michael Fassbender thriller is called.
The Snowman. That's a Snowman.
Yeah, that's the Snowman.
Or Steven Spielberg, especially. Oh my! I feel like he would probably have depending on the person. Like if he had if Mance got that slice, I feel like it would have been done deal.
No, if he gotten the slice, it would have been a done deal because he loves those Transformers movies and he produced every single one of them. The fucker.
Like what if there was a Michael Bay slice? I feel like that's the real one.
Like, I'm a staunch hater. There fucking should be a Michael Bay slice. He has enough films. He has enough deep cut knowledge. Like there should be.
We've had more random wheel slices than that. So
Meryl Streep. Meryl Streep.
I think we just started a riot somewhere.
Yep. I can hear Bibb screaming in the background.
Yep.
Growl, growl.
Correct.
But yeah, totally. I mean, it's I think it's only from what I've heard. It's I think this what has been a question that was discussed on one of the episodes prior, but I think it is specifically what they've directed. You know what? Never know that I'm wrong. Because Tim, there's a Tim Burton slice, and it's mentioned Nightmare Before Christmas. Nightmare Before Christmas. Several questions were asked on that one, but he produced it. He didn't direct it. But a lot of people consider that a very Tim Burton movie. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I think that if you open that door to sit there and let questions, even if it's just flavorfully based on the person who's out producing it, then you have to sit there and have that same equality across all the questions, which does lead down to a dangerous road.
Yes, but I mean, that being said, the person that's putting together all these questions, he's a human being. He doesn't realize it, probably. He or she doesn't realize it. And
in the game.
And who knows? They probably think that, because, Nightmare Before Christmas is a super duper Tim Burton movie. You can't argue that. That you can put it in a Tim Burton wheel slice, even though he didn't direct it. Versus like Steven Spielberg, I don't even know how many movies he's directed. Not only directed, but also is produced. He's involved in so many, it's bonkers.
He has directed 58 movies as of today and has produced over 150 movies. In case we are wondering on those stats, according to IMDb. Actually, 173 is the produced movie count.
So, here's a little asterisk. On IMDb, it actually says 61, but 6 of those projects are in the future, so it'd be 55. However, some of those are also short films and TV series, so it's not technically 55 films.
Yeah, so those don't count if they're TV.
that was a Dylan, not you, Alex. Don't worry. I don't hate women.
Of course.
Great, making sure.
I'm not being threatened at all. Let me just get my gun.
Yep.
I got my gun right here. Just gotta.
My dad actually just got me a taser for protection, and I'm like, awesome, Dad. Thank you.
Sweet.
Unless I'm mistaken, I think one of the previous put-on questions has been about Spielberg's TV work. Because everyone always talks about Duel being his first film, but that is a TV movie. So I think with that, suddenly you have like a lot bigger of like a range to go to.
I would challenge that question immediately on that basis if I even knew what Duel was prior.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. You can definitely argue that.
If someone says what the first film Spielberg directed and the answer isn't Sugarland Express, you can challenge that.
So,
but you can also, by extension, you can argue that, with Martin Scorsese's The Irishman coming out on Netflix, is that going to be a question that's going to be asked on the Martin Scorsese slice?
Not according to Spielberg, it's not.
Well, fuck him. No one cares about his opinion.
That's a whole other discussion. For a different day. But eventually the Irishman, I'm sure it's going to be in theater for like a week or two. In that case, sure. But for the first 8 months that it's out on Netflix until award season, no. So, we're going to see how things play out. It's going to be quite a little bit, until we kind of see a lot of like streaming movies and everything that come on Schmodown questions.
I agree. Speaking of some controversial topics, there was a bit of a question controversy in this Andreyko Roca match that I think we should touch on just briefly.
Yes.
So for those who caught the match and only those who are just listening in, a question came up, and I don't have the exact question in front of me because I'm not.
What was Charlie Chaplin's first talking film?
Talking film, right. Or it was true talking film. There was a very specific keyword that was being challenged. So Andreyko challenges it after Roca answers it correctly. And the question goes in. Yeah, kind of. Well, because it goes into a definition thing. But essentially, the judges are up to decide if the question is properly valid. But Roca, before the judges even get into the process, says, well, if it's not this movie, then it's Limelight or something. It's a separate movie.
Yeah, Limelight.
Right. So to essentially say that, hey, either way, I know where this question is going, and I have an answer for it. So, just in this conversation, I don't know, where do you guys land on the challenge?
I honestly think he should have been asked a new question.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I do. And sure, you could say he knew the question either way, sure. But the problem wasn't with Roca. The problem was with the question itself. Whoever wrote the question didn't understand it fully.
Right.
So when they put together these questions, it has to be reviewed not only by themselves, but by multiple set of eyes. Because I noticed not only with this match, but also during the free-for-all, like some of those questions needed to be reworded because they needed to be clarified. Like especially with that one where it was like No Country for Old Men. What was like the first
Okay, no, that was different. That was Christian Harloff misreading the question, but also let's not spoil the free for all too much.
Okay, well, it's only a question, but you understand what I'm talking about. It like making sure that your
questions are subjective or open to
exactly. They need to be much more clear, but understand everything for sure.
Right. I agree. I think that this should have been a whole new question, and I think this is something Rocha has mentioned multiple times in the past, where he says if the question is not valid, even if you do know the answer to that particular possible question, that at the end of the day, if the question is asking something that's ambiguous and it's just a faulty one, then that new question should be asked.
Yeah. No,
we also saw with I believe it was actually the corruption match when everyone lost.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of. I was thinking of that was the same. It was like the opposite.
Yeah.
For him,
well,
he did the same. He flipped out over the same question.
I feel like a lot of the time we're just
was turned. Then he was fine. He was fine letting poor Mark take the fall.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of times we just end up like really saying like, oh, they should ask a new question. So maybe that's
it was really sad. It was really sad too because Roxy had to step in for him at the after match because of what happened with Rope. Because I guess he might have been. Maybe he was being
I wasn't sure if that was for story or not because I've never seen Andreyko get that like built up.
I mean, yeah, we haven't seen it, but it's not to say that
I saw it was edited weird. You could tell they cut off his interview, so something had to go down.
Yeah,
which is strange. I'm always interested to see. That's one of the things I'd love to see as on the patron side of things is to see what stuff gets cut and why. Like, kind of like how Mara's interview post losing to Kalinowski for a championship match was just cut into like a sentence.
And we could also go about the Winston one too. It was cut out too.
Yeah, the Winston one was cut up as well. There's a couple times where it's cut. And I'm just like, what did they say so bad that was like, no, we're just gonna axe this. We've seen people get passionate and angry in post interviews before, and that just plays. So
But also, Mara, her big thing was that she needed to leave. She was actually leaving the league itself, not just Schmoedown in general. She didn't want to continue on with the story or anything. She was done with the Schmoedown altogether. So even if she did continue on with the interview itself, there would be like that whole it would almost, you would have to insinuate, oh yeah, I'm coming back. I'm going to come get you, Kalinowski. I want a rematch or whatever. That's because that's not going to happen. But also that was never her character. She was always very vocal about how, I just happen to be here and there's nothing else to do on a Sunday or whatever. That's just who her character is. I mean, she's a scientist, she was in the Navy for so many years. She's not an actor. So, asking her to be involved on that level could be a lot for someone like her that's not only in the entertainment industry, but someone that is not emotionally, physically prepared to be involved with such a fandom like us. If that makes sense. Are you prepared to have like random people come up to you, like fans come up to you and just know who you are or whatever, or try to search for you or...
Right, or death threats.
You don't know.
I mean, I ran the Mara fan page, and then we actually had to ban somebody because they were being like jerks to Mara. So
who was jerks to Mara?
Some guy, he was trying to like add her on Facebook, and he was like getting mad that he didn't like accept her. So I kicked that asshole out of here.
Denied and getting angry.
I did. I took him out.
Good.
And I was like, if I ever see this again, you're dead.
Come on, guys. Not you guys, just people in general. Do better. But it's, I'm hoping, I do love seeing, the passion, how passionate and these players are of the league. And I really want that to continue. But again, it just really hurts me as a fan to know that it was just difficult for him to watch, obviously. But that being said, we need to take in consideration just like better questions, more efficient, maybe have the hosts like read through them for a quick second if they can. I don't know.
Right.
Just kind of be much more efficient when they are on there. And, Harloff has been You know, he's even said it himself. He like messed up a few words and everything. It was like when he was talking to like Bibbs about one of the questions, and he said the word, but Bibbs knew what he was talking about, but he could have argued that.
Yeah, he said autonomy instead of anatomy.
Yeah, like what the fuck?
They also do it all the time with Inner Geekdom because they don't watch. Apparently, they don't watch Lord of the Rings or Star Trek. It's always like, "What is Ma'ach? Ma'ach? Hello."
Yeah.
And like, oh, okay, duh. Also, that is actual Klingon. Inner Geekdom, find me.
James, me and you could have an Inner Geekdom match worthy of the Schmodown to tier.
You know what? I would love to host that between you guys. Okay, I would love
You
that.
mispronounce everything as well.
I will throw down that gauntlet right now.
Well, so we can actually talk about that at the end of the show if you guys want to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So make your final points with the Roken and Draco match, and we could plug something a little fun.
Roka sucks.
Roka's old and tired, and he doesn't deserve to have a poster.
Well, you know what? Roka's going to retire in a couple weeks when he loses to Ethan Irwin. And that's been confirmed on the Top 10 show. So it's not me being a little petty little bitch. It's him actually saying, I will retire if this happens. So there's always that.
But you know he would be coming back inevitably after like a season or two.
Because he sleeps in the studio, I'm pretty sure.
Even if he's not playing, he would be managing, he would be hosting, he would be doing something.
He's already managing the Four Horsemen. He's the only one on that entire team who speaks.
Managing. Ooh.
Also,
what is Dagnino doing? I mean, let's be honest.
Being obnoxious, being drunk, making a really fucking weird show.
Yeah.
He's
a confidence booster, though.
This time working on his British accent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alex, thoughts on the match? Last thoughts?
Oh, should we talk? What about the little match? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, yeah.
But what about the little Dan Murrell talking to Roka about Ben?
Right. I think we're all in agreement that this is basically the sign of like if Ben wins in Houston, he's part of the Horsemen.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah, it would probably be Houston then. Yeah, I was thinking.
Or maybe in Chicago they say like you are the Horsemen or something.
Right. I can see them dropping it on Chicago. Although really, I can see the point where I'm saving it for Houston because Chicago is more of a Star Wars event than it is that event.
Yeah, and plus there's another Horseman there, and no one's really going.
Right.
Isn't booked. Riley isn't booked. Dan certainly isn't booked.
No, yeah. I only thought about that for a second because I'm the only person at this podcast that's going to be there in Chicago. So I'm just like, I can actually boo him in person at meet and greet if he joined the Horseman. Yes,
I tried to do that, and they fucking drowned me out. Like Roka comes out at the free for all. John, the Outlaw, Roka. Boo. Boo. And we're like, yeah, go Roka, have my kid. I'm like, boo.
Mm-hmm.
Boo. No one cares.
Yeah. If Ben, so how we've already pretty much turned on. We're all unanimously Ben's a traitor team table, right?
Yeah,
that's right.
Okay, guys, hear me out. I honestly think it's. I think this is going to be an inside job where.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I want Ben to be an inside job where they have some kind of guy in. Ben have some kind of agreement where they're like, yeah, we want you to infiltrate the Five Horsemen, and they're gonna break them up. And I think Ben is, and this in my ideal world, Ben is actually gonna turn Riley heel.
I think that's the only way to redeem it.
I was wondering
how much money I would pay for that to happen. Screw
maybe $5.
I was wondering if Ben is like Ant-Man to Thanos. Like he's gonna destroy him from the inside.
Hey, Danny? Danny, you there?
Yes.
Shut your whore mouth.
Never. I die on my hard mouth. Honestly, that's the best way I can.
Shut your whore mouth. I love and respect you, Danny, but you need to stop this.
You need to thought this right now.
Stop this.
I'll be in timeout.
Hashtag stop this right now. But yeah, that is, and I know it's not going to happen. But again, in my ideal situation, in my world, that's what I wish would happen because I would love to see Riley go heel. I feel like he would be a really great heel. But that's just me.
I agree. I will ride the hate train all the way there until it happens. So seeing Ben be a horseman, even in the behind the scenes Patreon Action Army stuff, just like fuck no, never gonna happen. And I'm like, all right, but when it does, character or not, fuck you, Ben. Trade him.
Yeah.
James, it looks like James was talking about it.
Okay, I work in action industries, and even I take the time to we're working on something, and Ben and like, how do we want to do this? Like we're designing a poster or some shit right now. It's like I think Ben should be on the villain because he's a traitor, like consistently every week.
I'm surprised there hasn't been. Remember the traitor meme? Traitor from. How has that not come up? How has someone not photoshopped Ben's face right there?
Action Army, please get on this. Listeners,
Action Army, please, someone, anyone in the Shimoda community, please make this happen. I will Venmo you. I can't do Photoshop.
Brian Ward, could you please make a design for a poster that says "Fuck you, Bateman"? We'll all be happy.
No, my hashtag that I created is Ben the Bitch. So I created it. Ben said it. He confirmed it.
So we can do this. We can talk about this more after. But if you do end up going to the Houston event, Alex, you should go as like with the Andrew Guy cosplay, but then have a little sign in your pocket that says "Fuck you, Bateman."
Oh, I'm just gonna slowly whip it out out of my shirt, and I'm gonna be unbutton my shirt a little bit, and be like, and I'm just gonna be really aggressive about it.
What you do is you tell Ben hey, can we get a photo? Sure, and so it's actually a video of it, and you're slowly pulling it out.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Bateman.
Oh my gosh! And he doesn't realize it until he sees the photo.
So Ben, what do you think?
Oh my gosh, that'd be the best. I would have that framed on my mantle.
Action Army Challenge, the next 2 events that either of us are going to, try to get that photo. I'm in the meet and greet here.
April and May, you got your chance to say "Fuck you, Bateman."
Oh boy, this is gonna be a good Star Wars celebration, right? But all right. Anyway, do we want to start wrapping up and start doing our plugs, everybody?
Yeah,
we should. Before we do, I do want to talk about a little idea we have. Without giving away too much, because obviously this is very liable to just being shut down. We're looking to do a live stream fundraiser for a organization heretofore named. So before we go and start planning everything, we wanted to put out a call to you guys, a call to action, if you will. So
he said it. He said it.
It happened.
Leave ideas in the comment section, what you'd like to see, maybe some matches you might want us to set up, or even maybe some organizations you'd like to see us do. Anything really, because we want to have as much fan involvement as possible. Please just leave every idea you have in it below. Even if it's just a 1 hour live stream of us holding up a "Fuck you, Bateman" sign, anything goes. Just let us know, and hopefully we can work it into our pitch that we're going to show to some higher ups.
Yeah. Maybe replace the Enswar mouth with a Saint mouth.
Or even just make sure Ben's matches for the next year is him as the real Dan Murrell.
Yep.
Yes.
All right. I think that's it. Go ahead and plug your social medias.
I'm Alex Mack. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Mac_Midori. That's it, honestly. Danny?
You can find me on Twitter, I guess. DKPKP. And I guess find me on the Schmodown pages and stuff.
You can find me at all the Facebook pages at Call to Action Podcast. You can also find me on Twitter at Camacchtopus, CAMACH Octopus. That is a mouthful. I know. Don't find me on Twitter. It ain't worth it. I don't tweet shit. Find me on the Facebook groups.
Change your Twitter ad to Octopussy. It'll get you a lot more attention.
Different crowd.
Someone else could be a fan.
Fair.
And as always, you can find me on Twitter at Temecula Film Guy. This is at TEMECULA Film Guy. Also, keep an eye out on Full Metal Trivia. I have a match in literally half an hour, so something should be up probably about the same day. You can also follow Ben and Andrew on Twitter at Team Action Show. You can find them individually at Andrew Guy and at Ben Bateman Media. Same tags on Instagram. And also, I mentioned before, please follow Action Industries. It is incredibly important to not just us, but the entire Action brand as a whole for you to get involved.
Follow our Twitter page too.
Our Twitter page.
Which we're going to be rebranding.
Action Podcast. If you aren't already, we're becoming a lot more active. So please do follow it. It'll help us a lot to get more attention. And I think that's it. Anything I didn't mention should be in the description below. If I'm not a dumbass, I forgot to plug it. Yeah.
Check out the Action Army, Action Guys, the Action Guys podcast.
The Action Guys every Friday at...
And AMA every Wednesday now?
3 p.m. And also Action Movie Anatomy, 3:30 every...
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Every Wednesday. And this week they're covering my suggestion, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. And if you aren't in that live stream, I will personally murder you because it is a perfect film. Inarguably, you can't.
And being vegan makes you automatically better than everyone else.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And with our vegan powers combined, we will see you guys next week. Peace out, motherfuckers.
Shut the fuck up, Julie.
Okay, bye, everybody.